What's up, Starcraft fans? Today we're doing the tier list for Think Fast on Rifts to Core Hall. Brian, let's hear the mutation.
Rifts to Core Hall is the map where we have to destroy 10 void shards before timer runs out. Each set of void shards we destroy adds time and reveals the next set. Propagators spawn from enemy buildings. They steal your units and turn them into more Propagators. All enemies, including the Propagators, move really fast.
So we have Edwin Home and Evilling in the call with us today. How are you guys today?
Doing well.
And alright.
Alright, so Evilling, how do we rank the commanders this week?
This week will be based upon how do you deal with a speeding bullet that's heading toward your expansion or your main base. So the first of its kind where you have speed propagators. There are some commanders that can build early defensive posturing to keep propagators out, and they'll definitely be ranked higher. And once you can deal with that, then most of it plays like a normal RTK mission, other than propagators can spawn from any building. So full clearing the map is not really a good idea to do on this mutation. You can, but you might as well just get the mission over with sooner than later.
Okay, how about you, Edwin Home?
Yeah, it's really just about dealing, especially with the early propagators. There's a probe or SCV wall cheese, worker wall cheese you can do. I think Tutu has a video that actually provides the exact details on it. Or I don't know, some of your videos on this from the last time it came around might have that.
Yeah.
But basically, hold positioning workers so that the propagators try to attack ranged units behind the workers. And as long as you kill them quickly, they won't eat the workers. So you're going to have to rely pretty heavily on that. And it's how well can you kind of manage the first 3-minute, 30-second prop while doing something like that. Or certain commanders don't even have to, but most of them are going to have to do something like that.
All right, let's begin. Abathur, where do we have him?
So speaking of commanders that don't have to do worker hold your hand line picket cheese, as Abathur, he has Toxic Nest, and you know where the propagator is going to come in through on the first spawn. It will be straight up that middle ramp. So just don't do dumb things with your Toxic Nest, like them all in a horizontal line, as many random players like to do. Stagger them and then build a layer so that if the prop dodges one, then it's going to hit another one. And yeah, once you get past the initial phase of the propagator speeding bullets, then you have access to your Vipers with their disabling cloud that can definitely get you out of sticky situations that your Brutalists, Swarm hosts, or things might be in. Yeah, Swarm hosts, I'm not too sure if I would recommend them on this. It can get out of control if not managed correctly. Then again, there's the ever classic pikey farming technique with you're just making mass propagators and figuring out how to deal with it with just swarm hosts. But I have Abathur from S to A.
S to A. What do you think, Edwin Home?
Yeah, I think an air comp might be pretty solid for actually dealing with the rifts. Guardians do quite a lot of single target damage, and then you can have Devourers to deal with air units. So that's definitely an option as well. And Guardians will actually do decently well as long as you keep them over the airspace of dealing with propagators that are near them.
Yeah.
But yeah, Toxic Nest's pretty good. I'm gonna go with A tier though on Abathur.
Okay, Evilling, are you making a case for S tier, or is A tier fine?
I think A tier is fine, but compared to the rest of the lineup, I think the Toxic Nests are a major point for Abathur, because later on in the game, once the propagators get wind of where the Toxic Nests are, they have a tendency just to go straight for the Toxic Nest. So even if the Toxic Nest is not in the stage of arming, that it's fully armed, they'll just go straight to it. So it's kind of like just.
Are you convinced?
That's my argument for S.
Are you convinced, Edwin Home? To S or not to S?
I don't know. It's hard to say. He's definitely very good A, I'd say, but
Okay, so let's do it this way. If it's not Yadam, it's not S. That's always been the rule. So unfortunately, we'll have to stick Abathur in A. We can always come back to it later on, but right now he is A. Prestige-wise, which one do you recommend?
I think you could go P2 or P0, really. Doesn't affect the toxicness at all, which is the, hinge point of your plan, really.
Yeah, now that
I guess P
Yep.
since the
is
hinge
cheaper by a little bit.
Since the hinge of your plan, since your plan hinges on the toxicness defending the Propagators, how do you feel about the first prestige and just going 7 Devourers and just sniping the rifts and nothing else?
That's perfectly valid.
Yeah, you could do that.
All
That'll
right.
work.
So just choose your prestige depending on your strategy.
You are spending a lot of your toxic nests on propagators, which means less biomass. So that might be an argument against it, but I mean it's true of all the prestiges. So
That makes sense.
Yeah, you can do it.
All right, so let's put Abathur in A tier. Alarak, where do we have him?
Alarak is decent, but a little bit worse. You do have to do probe wall at the start. You have pylon overcharge and then some cannons or something along those lines. I don't think you're going to be able to get much else out in time for that first propagator, but pylon overcharge should do it. Structure overcharge. Just don't overcharge something that's in the wall. Overcharge the pylon in the back or whatever you have a building behind the wall, so the propagator doesn't retarget onto it. That said, I mean you do have knockback wave as Alarak, but I think you don't have the toxic nests that are as strong for this, so I'd put him in B tier.
B tier. How about you, Eviling?
So Alarak, yes, he has to do the probe wall. Getting past the first propagator is going to be a little tricky. Once you get past that, with T3 mothership, you should be able to effectively clear our Rusikorhal pretty quickly, as long as you stick to using the unpathable terrain. Note that the propagators are just ground units, so that definitely make heavy use of unpathable terrain to keep your mothership and destroyers safe. Skirt around, get the shards that way. Another Alarak does have forms of CC with his destruction wave, and especially with a enhanced knockback ability that can definitely get you out of a really you don't want to be doing it all the time, but if it comes down to it, it could potentially save you. Is the force fields from the Havocs. So the propagators can't break through those. I don't know if you want to rely on force fields, but you can.
Okay, A to B. So both of you converge on B. I think both of you converge on B. Let's put it in B. Prestige-wise, you want the third one, right? You need the mothership?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Unit-wise, do you prefer Wrathwalkers or Ascendants? Or does not matter?
I would prefer Ascendants, I think.
Snipey snipe.
Yeah.
All right.
Wrathwalkers have that
Yeah.
like charge up attack, So
Yeah, Mind Blast is a little more
Mind
quicker
Blast is-
acting.
Yeah, instantaneous.
All right, let's put Alarak in B. Artanis. Oh wait, Arcturus, where do we have him?
Arcturus. So getting past the first propagator is gonna be a little tricky. Use worker wall or make extra supply bunkers to kind of funnel and shield your actual bunker that you have your troopers placed in. It's definitely not his usual S for his map, but I have him from A to B.
A to B. Okay. Do you recommend the shock divisions here because they have that stun ability? Does it affect the Propagators?
It does stun them. Shock division can be helpful, and then also the
Aegis Guard?
your Aegis Guard, the Marauders, their slow does work. So as long as you can get one shot off on the propagator, it will slow them significantly down. So that can buy you pretty valuable time from. But the thing is, you're not going to have any of those options ready for the first propagator. So once you get past the first propagator, up to you.
So you mentioned Earth Splitters. Do you actually think it's a good idea to set up on the Earth Splitter area? Because once the Propagators see a building, they will target it. And when the Earth Splitters shoot, I've been told they give vision of themselves a little bit. So will that not risk your Earth Splitter strategy?
Yeah, that'll definitely risk your Earth Splitter strategy. But the good thing is, Splitter Island has a distinct choke point. So kind of the same thing. Before you start firing off your Earth Splitters, build that defensive wall of workers and bunkers, and have them ready just in case the propagators decide to aim toward that instead of your main base.
All right. What do you think, Edpenham?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I had him in B tier myself, just because, I mean, it's not free to be on the island. So if only it was an island, But I think he'll do fine for the first set. I think you go P3 so you can get cheap weapons. Just get like 6 assault troopers or however many you can afford by the time the first propagator comes out. Worker wall, and you should be fine there. And then, I mean, Aegis Guard and siege tanks, I'm just going to call them, both
Makes
slow
sense.
and stun. So I think if you just have one of each of those at whatever choke points you need to worry about, that's going to be enough slowing. As long as you can get the game done before you start getting like 5 props at a time with ESOs. And you can, so you can just do that if you need to.
Yeah, just
And
put
then
it
go
on
to the
your
Earth Splitter.
expansion, or at least player 1's expansion. That'll work as well.
Yep.
Okay.
They salvage full cost, so it doesn't really matter too much.
Yeah. Okay. So both of you agree with A? Both of you are okay with A? Or did you
I
say
said
more of
B.
B?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you okay with B, Eviling?
In respect to Abathur, yeah.
Okay. So both of you are okay with B. Let's put our Arcturus in B. Prestige-wise, you want the third one, right? Because you want the nukes stuff for the last base. Also, the cheaper bunkers with troopers with arms.
P1's not going to serve you too well. You're going to be hard pressed to hit those contaminated strikes.
Yeah, good luck.
All right, let's put Arcturus in B tier. And prestige-wise, third prestige, Artanis. Where do we have him?
Artanis is suffering.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer.
He has no forms of crowd control against the propagators. His best bet is going to be going with everyone's favorite Tempest and abusing the unpathable terrain, very similar to Alarak. Getting past the first propagator, definitely worker wall it, and worker wall using your orbital strikes. Using P3 orbital strikes against the propagator, I don't know about that. That sounds like a recipe for disaster and making things much more complicated at the beginning than it should be. For me, Artanis is from C to D.
C to D. What do you think, Edpenholm?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with D tier. It's hard to hit the props with orbital strikes unless you've got the worker wall. So, and then once you're out on the map, you're having to be real careful with your tempests. It's not impossible, but I think he's gonna have a bit of a struggle fest. So I had him in D tier.
D tier. Okay, both of you are okay with D tier. Let's put Artanis in D tier. No prestige recommendations because D tier is considered bad. Strategy wise, you kind of have to go for the worker wall, and pretty much tempests are your only good option. Also, you have to. I've seen how people do it. You have to abuse the high ground areas around the ramp and put a couple of structures to make the poop have to take a longer path to try and get out of your units. TT did it with tempests and a forge at the side of the ramp. So the propagator has to go slightly longer around, which will allow the Tempest to have even more shots at it, also with Disintegrate. Also, according to Tutu, there is no critical mass of Dragoons that can shoot that propagators because they are too clunky and they don't have enough damage output. So you'll have to really hope that you have a good ally. Let's move on. Dehaka, where do we have him?
Dehaka has Eat. You're going P3 here, so you have double Eat, and so that's a good panic button. Pack leaders outside of Glevig's summons do not get props, so that's nice. Especially, that's another reason to go P3 in case you need to drop one in more than one location. So he'll do pretty darn well. It's not perfect because you do have to heavily rely on those few units, but you should be good there, and then just primal hosts to blow up the objectives, or creeper hosts, I should say, to blow up the objectives, and should do pretty well. I had him in A tier.
A tier. What do you think, Eviling?
I have Dehaka. Pretty much he follows Manx in the same place on Rift Secor Hall. Eat is good, and also if your Eat is down and you really need to slow the prop down, the Roar is also good, especially if suddenly Dehaka or Dehaka is very close to prop train, and you could roar and it'll catch most of them, so that could buy you very significant amounts of time for your creeper hosts to do their action. Or you could also have impalers at certain points. You definitely need more than 2 impalers to make sure the propagator goes down correctly, but it is a way to help defend the points because the creeper hosts, as nice as they are, they have that travel time. So especially against a speeding prop, it'll be hard pressed to catch it. They're good against taking down the objectives. So yeah, A to B.
Okay, both of you converge on A, so let's put Dehaka in A. Prestige wise, you want the third one, right? Because double Eat, yeah? Second breakfast? All right,
Yep.
Let's put Dehaka in A tier. Fenix, where do we have him?
Phoenix, he's not as much suffering as Artanis because he has forms of crowd control. You can use Arbiter Suit Stasis to control a prop, but you're just delaying the inevitable. You need to have a solution for it. His robo options have draw control. Taldarin with his mini fatal attraction can kind of slow the prop, and then couple that with Warbringer with extra slowing effects that can definitely buy you some time. Caldalis is not going to have a fun time with Propagators. Everything else will do okay. So if you want to bring Caldalis out, you can just be very, very mindful where the props are spawning from. And then Calarian, yeah, you definitely may want to stave off them unless you can reach higher critical mass where you send so many interceptors at the propagator, and the propagator is just too busy trying to target, and eventually they just go down to the interceptors. But that it makes it tricky on how he does have to do worker wall, and once past that, kind of skating on thin edge. But I haven't.
B to C. What do you think, Edmund Home?
Yeah, I had him in C tier. Warbringer definitely pretty good behind the worker wall. You have to be careful with Taldarin's pull in relation to the worker wall. If you're still using that, you can just pull the propagator through. So don't have him behind it, or at least don't have him shooting probably. But other than that, he's useful for slowing them. But yeah, it's just not perfect crown control by any means. So C tier.
C tier. Okay. Both of you converge on C tier. I guess that's where we'll have them. Prestige wise, what do you recommend here? First one, so that you can have the super duper Phoenix thing, Dragoon suit, and you have basically infinite charges of the Arbiter suit.
Yeah, probably P1. Yeah,
P1,
P2 you want to actually
make P2
have
war, I think.
You can.
I think you want a lot of Colossi, so you don't want them dealing half damage.
That makes sense. All right, first prestige is what we're going with. Or if you really want the second prestige, you can try. But it's C tier, so you have to be really competent at what you're trying to do. Let's move on. Han and Horner. Where do we have them?
Han has Horner. That is nice. Han and Horner has okay options. Hellions with the Tar Bomb does slow the Propagators, and Hellions are, well, only Han and Horner's Hellions really are good single target damage, so that is nice. Prop Trains, you don't have the best options to deal with it, except your orbital space station, but you do also have bombing platforms to kind of help slowly chip down the rifts over time, and you could go for a couple air units. You definitely want to go P1 for better mag mines. Otherwise, they're just going to shoot, and the Propagator will actually have already killed your entire everything, and you'll have lost the game. So you definitely want to go P1 so they actually do anything against the Propagators, but they'll do okay. So I had them in B tier.
B tier. What do you think, Eviling?
Yeah, I have Han and Horn from B to C. Definitely P1 is going to be your better bet for the fast army mag mines, and you can put most of your mastery points into mag mines so you have more of them available. They'll be a good defensive measure against the Propagators. Not the best, but it's what they got. And you use your Horner units to kind of same thing that we were mentioning for Alarak and Artanis, is skirt around the unpathable terrains and deal with the objectives that way, supporting with strike bomber platforms. B to C.
B to C. Both of you guys said B. Let's put Han and Horner in B. Prestige wise, first one, right? You guys said first one?
Yeah.
That's what I heard. I totally listened, guys. Second prestige. Karax, where do we have him?
Karax. So getting past the first propagator, he's going to definitely need the worker train or just arrange his buildings in a certain way so it keeps the propagator from getting to a potential cannon. But otherwise, he does have space lasers that the propagators can't propagate the Spear of Adun, so that's fantastic. And then once he can get past the early stage, he gets the monoliths start going up. Those become effective defense against propagator trains or propagators, not the trains.
Yeah,
the trains you can definitely, you got to have enough Spear of Adun for that. But yeah, you shouldn't have any propagator trains, hopefully. And the rest is just get your observers or mirages into position to spot for the objectives, space the laser and down, get the mission done. I have it for best day.
Also, you have to get the energizers to speed up your monoliths. I think that's required almost. S2A, you said?
Yes.
What do you think, Edmund?
Yeah, I'd agree with S tier. Top bar with a worker wall and like one cannon behind it for the first prop, and then from there, yeah, I mean, top bars, Kadaran monoliths, energizers, and then just top bar to deal with pretty much everything. So S tier.
S tier. Both of you said S. Let's put Karax in S. Personally, I'm not sure if I would put him in S. It's just my opinion, because for me, S is someone who can deal with poop trains. I don't know how Karax can deal with poop trains, but I guess he can deal with them by not creating them, I guess. So
If
That's
it's the
S.
worst case scenario of a full health poop train, it might be tough. But I think Solar Lance, they come in a straight line usually. So
2 Solar
definitely
Lances will destroy a poop, so if you're really fast with your clicking, maybe you can. Let's move on. Oh wait, prestige-wise, third one, right? Because he wants to be Overdoon?
Yes.
All right, let's move on. Kerrigan, where do we have him?
Kerrigan is gonna have a really hard time with the early game. I guess it's worker wall spine crawlers and pray that kills it fast enough for it to not start targeting workers. If you can make it through that, then P3 Kerrigan is able to zap down props pretty effectively. In the early game, obviously, if you have multiple props, she's not gonna have the energy for that, so that starts to become an issue. I think she'll do okay-ish. You can get through the mission hopefully pretty quickly, and you do provide extra resources for your ally and everything, so hopefully they're able to do a little bit better. So she's not horrible, but she's not fantastic or anything, but I had her in B tier.
Sounds like a B. What do you think, Eviling?
For me, Kerrigan, so she's notoriously bad for Risikoral, especially for the first wave, because she doesn't have much options to do with it. You're going to have to do a worker wall, you're going to have to do spine crawlers, queens, you're not going to be doing zerglings, that's for sure. And once past that, her only viable option is P3 in order to deal with the prop. And yeah, you got to be quick to connect blast those things on time and make sure Kerrigan doesn't do her usual trying to get into her auto attack range to play with the prop. She doesn't have many crowd control options. One of her greatest tools of non-P1 Omega Worms are kind of negated by the props, because the more Omega Worms you have around, they become a liability for propagation. So yeah, she does have Mutalisk to skirt around the sides to take out the objectives. But yeah, in my opinion, she's kind of in the same boat as Artanis C to D.
C to D, okay. That's kind of different from B. What do you think, Edwin?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it is Mutalisk are heckin' expensive, so trying to get up enough of those to deal with the
Also
objective pretty
fragile.
quickly.
Don't forget fragile.
Also fragile. Although in this mutator, it doesn't really matter if they had 10 times their health. If you
Oh,
get
it does
rid of
matter
the prop,
if the base you're assaulting has Vipers. It does matter.
That's true. That's
If
true.
they have High Templar, it does matter.
That's true. But yeah, I'm fine with C. I think that's fine.
Okay, so both of you agree with C. Let's put Kerrigan in C. Prestige-wise, how do you guys feel about the second one? Does the stun thing, the zap thing, affect the Propagators? Does it slow them down, or not even?
I don't think you're reliable.
It slows them down. I don't think it slows them down appreciably.
Okay, so you still want third one, right?
Yeah.
At the very least, it gives you extra money for your Mutalisks if you really want that.
Yeah.
Still kind of dicey, but yeah, it is workable if you have a good ally. All right, Nova, where do we have him?
So getting past early game, worker wall, you're gonna be using railgun turrets, or by the time the poop comes out, will you have your Marines ready? Yeah, if you have a pretty good build order, they're Marines, and it's a little funny to deal with. But once you get past that, another way of dealing with propagators, kind of like Abathur, is setting up mines around. So mines do a great job of dealing with propagators. So once you get your siege tanks up, and you can lay spider mine fields around your choke points, and then hopefully work your way up to that ridge toward the right, or kind of middle-ish of the map, and that's where most of the propagators will be coming in from. Of course, some of them will be coming in from the third shard set, but yeah, you're gonna have to mine in two places. So once you get that set up, then I think you'd be in very good shape. In terms of which prestige to use, maybe P3, maybe P1. I think that depends upon how confident are you in setting stuff up to keep the props out. But for me, Nova is going to be A to B.
What do you think, Edwin?
Yeah, I think probably B, because the first worker wall is going to kind of hurt to get up, and even if you manage to get it off, that it hamstrings your build order a little bit, I think. But
A little bit.
I think the tank spider mine is good. Liberators are going to have a little bit of a rougher time because it goes through the zone so fast until you get a certain amount of them. Another option is Spec Ops Ghosts. I think it's 2 triple taps.
Pew, 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 pew.
Will kill a propagator, and obviously you start with 2 ghosts whenever you build them, so you could go with those as well. They're not going to be as useful necessarily depending on the enemy comp elsewhere. But Nova can do a lot of that work with airstrike and nuke and all that kind of stuff. So I think I'd put her in B tier.
B tier. Okay. So both of you agree with B. Let's put Kerrigan. Nova in B. Blonde Kerrigan. Let's put Nova in B. I think we actually prefer the third prestige here because we're going for different types of units. We're not going for only Stargate. We're not going for only siege tanks. We actually want a healthy mix of them. We want Marines for the first defense and the first poop since they shoot faster. We want siege tanks for spider mines. We want liberators to just snipe the void shards, and more importantly, we want untargetable Nova so that she can just snipe all the anti-air in the bases so that the liberators will have a free time to just destroy everything else. That's what we recommend, right?
Yep.
Okay. B is fine for me. Let's put Nova in B. Raynor, where do we have him?
Raynor has spider mines, which are pretty good against this. I'm not sure myself how well that's. I think you can get them out in time for the first prop, maybe. In which case,
Lila can.
great.
Trust in Lila.
Lila can. Yeah. So I think you get those out from there. I mean, they can just spider mines will deal with pretty much endless amounts of propagators. So I had him in A tier off the back of that.
A tier. What do you think, Eviling?
Yeah, mines are good. It's just getting past that first propagator. The timing when the propagator comes in, you should have your vulture out, vulture or vultures. You won't have any of the upgrades ready for them yet, but it should be enough to deal with it as long as the attack wave doesn't eat up all your mines. Once you get past that, it's going to be a relatively standard affair. Set up your mines around the choke points, and you can choose to play the game normally after that. But yeah, it's still better just to sneak around the sides and kill off the objectives and try to get the mission done sooner than later, because that requires a lot of attention. And once the propagators start coming out in full force, then things can get out of control, especially with an attack wave. So
you're recommending battlecruiser? You're recommending battlecruiser? No.
I think, in my opinion, if you can get your vultures out in time, usually battle cruisers, I think
For the main objective.
for the main objectives, you can go battle cruisers. I don't know if I would recommend it because it's going to take a while to get that up, and then you're splitting your attention to get your vultures going, getting Vikings out in order to deal with the objectives.
So you recommend Vikings instead. Okay. So which letter? A to B. Okay. So both of you converge on A. Let's put Raynor in. That's pretty high for Raynor this week, huh? Raynor goes in A.
Yep.
Yeah.
Prestige.
Mines are good.
Yeah, spider mines are pretty good. Which makes me wonder why Nova isn't A. She also has spider mines, right? Anyway.
I had her as A to B.
Okay, that's fine. Okay. So prestige wise. What do you want for Raynor's prestige?
I don't think you want P3 because that makes it harder to get those initial vultures out.
More expensive.
So you're probably just going P0.
That's why
No
I was
prestige.
reluctant against the Battle's idea.
Okay, so no
I'm
prestige.
very-
Stet boy, where do we have him?
His steadlights become a problem, especially you can't really dance around the Propagators to kill them to keep them away from your steadlights. So most likely you're going to have to resort to P1, and that in itself is a significant hit to Stet Boy. You're going to have to be making good use of his Mecha Banelings, which a lot of players forget exist. So you're going to have to do quite a few things outside of the usual comfort zone for Stet Boy. I have it from B to C.
What do you think, Edwin Home?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit tougher because typically propagators, you can just go P1 and then you're more than fast enough to kind of just kite them. With speed freaks, that's going to be a little bit tougher to properly kite them. So it makes propagators actually quite painful even with P1. Yeah, I mean, Mecha Banelings can do it if people can find the building for it. But yeah, I don't think he's quite C tier, but I'd say B.
How do you guys recommend them dealing with the main objective?
XT Corruptors, yeah.
Just corruptors?
Just send in your Corruptors, pee on the objective, and kill it.
Corruptors and basic Gary.
Sounds very painful. That sounds so
It is.
painful. From my experience, I did play this as Stet Boy. I actually prefer second prestige for Stet Boy here because there are areas around the bases where you can set up the stud lights, and that's where you operate with Gary. And what I did for the main objective is I used Super Gary to mostly clear out the areas before I set in my Corruptors. If I set in the Corruptors unassisted, they will just get shot down. It's that simple. They got shot down. And Banelings still work on second prestige. You just have to move up your defense. You just have to clear up to the the choke point at the center of the map, or the minor choke point at the center of the map. Just defend that area. That's all you can do pretty much as Stet Boy. And I still recommend the second prestige, but if you recommend the first prestige, I guess that's what we're going with. You guys converge on B?
Correct.
Okay. Both of you had Stet Boy in B tier. Let's put Stet Boy in B tier. Prestige wise, they recommend first prestige. Stukov, where do we have him?
Stukov, the random queue ladder Stukov players cry out in pain. You probably really don't want to go P3 here. I'd say it's a P1 week. Diamondback slime mixed with Brood Queens, but the first prop's going to be a bit tough. I think you can get the Diamondbacks out. I don't know if they're going to be able to kill it in time though. I don't know. It's one of those things where I haven't actually tried to solo on him because it sounded too horrifying. But if you can make it through that, I think he'll do fine. But it's the early game setup that's going to be real painful for him. So I had him in C tier.
What do you think, Eviling?
Judging by random queue, to me he's going to be D to E for this week. I mean, the random queue Stukov players are notoriously bad for not understanding how props work, and especially speed props. Dealing with the first propagator. Usually what I found useful is doing worker wall and then having your barracks ready. When the propagator comes, just spawn a bunch of marines and have the marines gun down the propagator as fast as possible before it starts eating through the workers or nibbling on the worker. And then after that, you got time to build up your Diamondbacks with P1, and hopefully you get through that in due time. It's going to be kind of shaky, especially when Alexander can make the situation worse against props, and then the Apocalypse is pretty much useless against propagators. So yeah,
I don't know. I think C tiers probably still makes more sense, because if you're playing him correctly, then I don't think he's D to E. Just because most people aren't going to be doesn't mean we should judge poor old Stukov. It's not his fault.
It's not his fault. People don't know how to use him.
Yeah, I think he has the potential, if you're good, to do quite solidly past the early game. So I would still say C. I mean, yes, obviously most players playing him are going to be playing him at a D to E level, but I don't think that's because of Stukov.
Yeah, what do you think, Eviling? Are we being unfair to Stukov here?
Maybe. So one thing that's crossing my mind is Stukov does, I mean, with his Diamondback slime, he does have crowd control, which is something that Artanis doesn't have at all against the propagators. So that makes him slightly better than Artanis.
Looks like both of you are okay with C. Let's put Stukov in C. There we go. Swann, where do we have him?
So laser drill can't be targeted by the poop unless it gets right up to the laser drill, and if it gets up to the laser drill, you have bigger problems than anything. But with P1 slow, constantly focus on a propagator, that can definitely save you. And with P1's enhanced time that it starts firing at the propagator, that is very, very helpful. Blaster billies are really good against the propagators. Now, how to deal with the first propagator? You definitely do not want your points into gas drones. You want your points into laser drill upgrade time, because that affects its cooldown.
You want it every time.
So,
you never get gas drone mastery. You always get fast laser drill no matter what. Continue.
I sense the anger.
I'm sorry, Dad. I'm sorry.
Never ever get gas mastery. Never.
You scrubs. So yes, once you get past that, then you can start building up your wraith count and start playing almost normal. Oh, me, Swann is S to A.
S to A. What do you think, Espenholm?
Yeah, I had him in A tier. Yeah, I mean, all pretty similar points. Definitely, I get your laser drill out early, and then blaster abilities are nice for slowing, and
Never gas.
Yeah, A tier, never gas.
So both of you, actually, you said A. Eviling is okay with A, right? A. You did say A. S to A.
It's not.
Okay, so both of you said A. Let's put Swann in A. Actually, personally, I wouldn't go for first prestige here, because I do want the laser abilities to make the shard sniping easier for my wraiths. Plus, if you have blaster ability slowing down the propagators when they're on the high ground around the ramp, they will shoot down the propagator and slow it down, such that the blast abilities and your laser will be enough to defeat the propagator. Just target it down, and once they get hit by the blaster ability, they will get slowed down enough that you can destroy it. And yes, the top bars will be very nice to have against the defenses of the void shards. So that is indeed A tier at least. Let's put Swann in A tier. Prestige wise, I'm leaning second one here personally. differently. Do you guys actually
Yeah,
prefer the first
I
one?
would say second one because yeah, I mean also +2 range. The blaster abilities are hitting that much earlier,
Right.
So I'd probably
And the attack
do
speed
two.
too. Anyway, Evil, are you okay with second one?
I'm fine with either one. I think both of them have their high points. Second one is going to be definitely nicer with dealing with attack waves and cracking the bases.
Right.
But I mean, you can still do the same with the first one. It's just a little more slower in getting bases cracked. But you have that extra layer of safety when dealing with the propagator, and
Okay.
that's the biggest.
All right, so that's A tier. Tychus, where do we have him?
Tychus has Crooked Sam for propagators. In my attempt, at least, yeah, it's hard to get Sam and his stun upgrade out in time for the props. And if you can't do that, then you'll hit the one prop, it will die, but Sam will get eaten because he's way slower than the prop, and then there's another prop. So if you can make it past the first propagator, get that upgrade for Sam, you're in pretty good shape. So I had him in A tier.
Can't you just do the worker wall thing for the first poop?
That's true. That's true, actually. Yeah. So A tier.
What do you think, Eviling?
For me, Tychus is A to B. Worker wall, you're going to have to be on point with getting the demo charges out on the propagator. And that sounds easy, but if you are dealing with a speeding prop with an attack wave and hitting, if it gets mixed in with the attack wave, you might stun something else unintentionally. So
Yes.
just be mindful of that. Otherwise, yeah, once you can get past that, then he'll play relatively normally. But it's how are you going to position Sam at every single point to get every propagator? So the time is ticking because you don't want high propagators coming down, barreling down at you because he doesn't have that many demo charges. So just be mindful of where the propagators are spawning from and getting the mission done as soon as possible before it gets out of control. A to B.
Okay, both of you converge in A. Let's put Tychus in A. Personally, I would have him A star because yes, he does have a solution, but that solution is kind of critical and it's not foolproof. If you miss once, you're dead. You can't miss.
Yep.
So I would say A star, but both of you say A. Let's put Tychus in A. Prestige wise, you want the second one, or does it not matter? Because your poop defense is all about hitting the stun on the demo charge, right? So it's not really.
I would be more inclined
dependent.
for P1, so you have
First
more
one.
demo charges available.
Okay. Is P1 okay with you, Edmund?
Yeah, I think you could do P1 or P2. But yeah, I think P1's maybe a little better.
All right, let's put Tychus in A tier. Vorazun, where do we have him?
Vorazun, so she is the queen of crowd control. Black holes are really good, especially if you have poop trains, but you need to follow them up appropriate. Now, how do you actually deal with the propagators after you have it controlled? For the very first set, you're getting your shadow guard, which is default her only way of dealing with the early attack waves. That's going to be a tricky situation. So you're going to call out shadow guard, you're going to have to use a black hole, and just make sure you have enough energy for that. So you may want to be pumping points in your in that, and then once you get past that point, make use of her vertical stasis wards. Those are really good at not having to use your black hole but still going after the propagator. Once you get the upgrade, of course, to attack when things are in stasis. Time stop is going to be huge, especially if it's kind of like a last ditch button if things start going south, and it could help you to reset if things start get propagated. But still, it's going to be tricky with Vorazun, especially if you're trying to deal with propagators using her spellcasters that have melee attacks, aka her Dark Templar. You're going to be very, very mindful of how many Shadow Guard or how many Dark Templar you have in order to kill one propagator, and you definitely do not want them getting into melee range. Make good use of your black holes and stasis wards. A to B.
A to B. What do you think, Edmund Home?
Yeah, she does have CC decently well. Black holes are a limited resource, so be careful with those. But once you get stasis wards out, you should be able to rely on those pretty reliably because you can just hit the few choke points there are later on in the game. So I think she'll do fairly well. I had her in A tier.
A tier. Okay, let's put Vorazun in A tier. Prestige wise, she has one prestige, right? Third one?
Yeah.
Okay.
P3 is going to be best.
Zagara. Where do we have him?
Zagara has Banelings. So S tier.
What do you think, Eviling?
Oh yeah, P1 Zagara mains, rejoice. This is your week. P3 Stukov mains, suck it. We're better than you. We can macro more. We macro our free stuff. So Baneling's good, Scourge is good. Just Ramshambo them into the shards and
Ramshambo.
call
That's
it-
the first time I've heard that word.
you're not as old as you claim to be. So yeah, P1 great. Banelings for defense. Definitely just you can have Zerglings around to take down encampments and whatnot, but be very mindful if a propagator spawns right in front of you. You're better off just holding back, building up your Baneling account. If you got a bunch of Zerglings morphing the Banelings, then just ram them all in at one time, dealing.
No, don't run them all in. You want to have Banelings at the choke point at the center of the map, so you don't get ran by a Propagator. You don't send them all in.
Yeah, not all of them, but the ones that you have ready to take out an encampment, and then you have the ones on the side to deal with your defense.
Okay.
Yes, SA.
S2A. Both of you say S. Let's put Zagara in S. First prestige, right? First prestige, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, absolutely.
Let's put Zagara in S tier. Zeratul. Where do we have him?
Zeratul. So how do you deal with the first one, worker wall and cannons or ambushers? Yeah, it's gonna be a little tricky for him. I would like to say cannon's good, but even cannon projections can get propagated, so you need to be very mindful of that. Now, his ambushers are a means to deal with it. If you can get a good critical mass, they do really high damage, and the fact that you can blink them away definitely can help you deal with the propagator. Another option of dealing with propagator is your Void Templar. So you get, I think it's you get five or six of them and one blink forward, and that should kill the propagator. So kind of like a better DT in some way. And from there, just be mindful of where the props are coming from and start doing Zeratul things to start winning the mission. In terms of dealing with the objective, get your watchers out and put them over unpathable terrain, and from there, when you kind of similar to what CTG mentioned about using the Alexander, just time when the props spawn, then after that you have a period of safety. That's when you can go after the shards using shade projections, or you start using void prisms to snipe the shards and then get out before the propagator spawns.
So know the timings.
So yes. For me, Zeratul, he has the tools to do it.
Zeratul.
It's a little, it should be able, and void suppression crystals and monoliths are going to be great tools for CCing the propagators. So, me, he'll be A to B.
A to B. What do you think, Edmund?
Yeah, I had him in B tier. It's just that there's a little more risk, I think, than a lot of the CC available for like Vorazun and whatnot.
I agree.
So I had him in B tier.
Yeah. Also note, I did watch Tutu kind of struggling with Zeratul without the worker wall. If you don't have worker wall, you have to do a funky first prestige strategy of just delaying the. I saw how he did it. He had two core forges built out in the center of the map in the opposite corners, the far left and the far right of the center of the map, and he shows them in vision range of the enemy siege tanks so that the Propagator will go first toward one core forge, and then he cancels it right as the Propagator is about to arrive, and then the Propagator to the other core forge, and then once that's almost there, he cancels it again so that it wastes so much time, such that it buys enough time for Zeratul to spawn, and then use the massive super cook field to to make the poop unable to attack, because you don't have enough ambushers at that point to shoot down the Propagator without the worker wall. He did say that 3 commanders out of the 18 don't have a means to destroy the Propagator without the worker wall. I think 2 of them are Artanis and Zeratul. The other one I think is Stukov or something, or was it Kerrigan? I think it was
Kerrigan,
one of them. Anyway, so both of you are okay with B? Yeah, yep. B, but get the worker wall. Also, like Edwin Home said, it is a little more risky than the A guys. Speaking of the A guys, most of the guys in A, I can see why they're there, because they mostly have defenses that make you not have to worry so much about the Propagators. Abathur has Toxic Nests. Dehaka, actually, I don't know about Dehaka if he has defenses that can make you. No, I guess you still have to pay attention, but you do have the eat ability. So yeah, but you still have to pay attention. Abathur, there's a measure of you don't have to pay so much attention attention, but I guess it's okay with Dehaka because he has Void Shard sniping ability, so that kind of raises him a little bit. Raynor Spider Mines, obviously. Swann has slow down ability with the blaster abilities. I'm not sure about Tychus.
Tychus is in the same boat as the Dehaka. He has to pay attention. So I think the Dehaka and Tychus are going to be lower.
Lower
and,
A?
to a certain extent. And also Vorazun has to pay attention too.
Vorazun definitely has to pay attention.
Dehaka has to pay more attention, but Dehaka's risking less when he's attacking the bases because it's just creepers.
That's true. So you have more attention to spare, I guess.
Yeah.
And pack leaders
Raynor,
can just spawn right in front of the propagator.
Yeah. So
Except
how about
for Glevik.
Tychus and Vorazun? They do have to go on offense, and you have to pay attention to the offense, and you have to pay attention to the defense.
Yes. I think if you're paying attention to the actual timings, though, you can pull Tychus's squad back.
I think both of these will be A-star. Those two guys will be A-star. Anyway, do we have a double S this week?
No.
No. Top of A is Zagara, right? Has to be.
Yeah.
No one else. Okay. And then Karax. Who's top of A?
In my opinion, Abathur.
Abathur,
I think
because of
probably
toxic nests. It is really good. And then after Abathur,
Vorazun, I think.
really?
She
I would
has
say Swann.
power control Wazoo, but maybe Swann. Yeah.
Okay. And then, and then
I
I like Raynor's ability to just make poop trains not a concern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Vorazun has a little bit better of a time with the rest of the mission, but Raynor's going to have a much easier time with the props. So I'm good with him above Vorazun. And then I think Dehaka above Tychus, just because he does have both Dehakas that can deal with props, and 2 out of 3 pack leaders can very much deal with props, and the other one can eventually deal with them. So.
I would still put a star on the Vorazun A, also the Tychus A. I'm a bit iffy about these because they require a lot of attention, and with this kind of mutation, you don't need 2 mistakes to lose. You don't need 3 mistakes to lose. You need 1 mistake to lose. 1 mistake, you're dead. So I definitely feel like those two have a star next to their names. Who's top of B?
The one with mines, aka Nova.
Why isn't she an A?
I wanted her in A, but yeah.
Who's second in B?
Next one with pseudo mines. Maybe Stetmann, I think.
Pseudo mines? I thought you were gonna say Hot and Horner because Hot and Horner does have mines.
Yeah, mag mines. So I was contemplating. I'd say Mech Banelings are a little more sure fit. Mag mines, yeah, they have to be.
I just
when
have
the
to warn you
populator
guys
comes
that
by,
Stet Boys
you can
Bailings
run
are
by.
nowhere near as good as Zagara's nor as cheap.
Yeah, they're not. But
I
we're talking about
wouldn't
these
say
props.
He's 2 whole
sustainable.
tiers below her.
Sorry?
I said he has 2 whole tiers below her because of that.
Yeah.
Okay. As both of you say it. He's second in B?
Second, and then Han and Horner, in my opinion.
Yeah, and then I think Arcturus. Yeah, I think that looks about right.
All right. I'm just gonna say from my experience, Stet Boy is not B from my experience. But I did play him. It's not a fun experience. Bailings, yes, they can hold it for a time, but it leaves very little for the offense. Anyway, who's top of C tier?
Phoenix, I think.
Phoenix.
I think it's pretty much right how it is.
Yep.
So, this is correctly ordered?
Yeah, I
I
think
think so.
All right. And then D tier is Artanis.
D tier.
All right. Okay, that's it. Okay, guys. Yeah, that's it. If you have any objections to this tier list, please feel free to put them down below. That's it pretty much. Hope you enjoyed that. Thank you for watching. If you have an idea for it, also please leave it in the comment. I'll see you guys next time.